Well, good morning. Welcome to the 21st video in the Fundamentals for Following series. If you've been following along, you know that these short video devotions are based on the book that I wrote a couple of years ago called Fundamentals for Following. And we just kind of following along with the book. We're in chapter 3 right now, and we're talking about the MOs of the devil, or how he operates, methods of operation. Kind of idea behind that is the old police show Dragnet. If you're an older person like myself, you might remember that show, and Sergeant Friday always looking for the MO of the criminal. And that's what we got to do as people that know Jesus. We got to be looking for how he operates to try to pull us away from Jesus. And even if you don't know him, you need to know. It's helpful for you to know when he's at work in your life. You may not realize that. So this is just a short little discussion of one of the ways he tries to pull us away from Jesus, and that's distraction. Anytime you see distraction going on in your life, you know that the devil's behind it, or he's encouraging it at least. So let's read from 1 John chapter 2, verse 15. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. You know, so many things take our eyes off of God. It's the nature of the times we live in, right? Year by year, we can see advances in communication and technology that are almost mind-boggling. We try to keep up, but most of the time we end up farther behind. We get the new iPhone, and then, well, you know, here's another new one. It's got all the bells and whistles, or the new watch, or the any kind of a computer or any technology thing. It's all just changing so fast. Even cars, I mean, you can't keep up. So all these new electronics, and they offer the promise of more time, more free time, because all that they're capable of doing. They're also just time savers, right? Plus they're just cool. They just tickle our fancy, so to speak. And you know, I'm like that too. I like the new technology stuff. I'm a big phone junkie, and anything like that, I'm interested in it. But you know, it's just like chocolate ice cream, which I love. You know, I'm interested. I want to take a bite. But and then when you take one bite, well, you want to have more. And there are other things besides toys and gadgets that distract us from God, such as hobby, sports, and even our families. You know, you may not feel this way, but the Bible's pretty clear. You must elevate God over everything, over your brothers, your sisters, over your mom, your dad, your husband or your wife, and even your children or grandchildren. He must be 100% Lord of your life, top of the pyramid. And that connects back with what we talked about earlier in chapter 2, putting God first. So here's an important question that deserves an honest answer. What's better, a half an hour scrolling Twitter or Facebook, or the same amount of time spent in Bible study and prayer? Be honest. So I'm not being self-righteous, guys, but I'm guilty of being distracted too. It's easier to get caught up in something mindless, like scrolling Facebook or looking at sports scores or following your favorite team. But distraction leads to separation. So say you was watching somebody's child, and you got to watching TV, and the child that you're supposed to be watching tries to get your attention, but decides to take off on you after you don't respond, right? Because you're watching a TV show, you got to see the end. And then the child wanders away, and it gets lost, so So you've lost contact. You know, that's kind of just a little small illustration of what happens with God. You know, God's vying for our attention along with all these cool gadgets and toys in our family. There's bad consequences if we don't put God first. If we let ourselves get separated from God, that kind of cracks the door open for Satan to introduce other things. Because if you're not distracted, you're not paying attention to what's really important. And then you get deceived by other things that happen. So, guys, let's put our focus on Jesus more and more as we go forward. He's got to be number one. I can't stress that enough. You'll hear me say that all the time. God's got to be first in your life. You can't be a Christian, guys. I'm telling you the truth here today. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you. You cannot be a Christian if Jesus ain't number one in your life. You're not a Christian if he's not. If you're putting other things in front of him, you're not a Christian. You're not going to be in eternity with Jesus. I don't care if you've been baptized. I don't care anything else that you may have done that's some kind of tradition of your church. And don't get me wrong, a lot of things like baptism are very important. But God's got to be number one. You got to do what he says. He's got to be first in your life. Otherwise, you're trying to run a scam, and scams don't work. And we'll get into that later on in the book as we go along. But it's just pretty simple, isn't it? Put God first. Don't be distracted by the world. Focus on him. Think about that overnight, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys. And we'll be talking about complacency. So kind of goes along with distraction, doesn't it? So look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. God bless y'all.